If you want to make an N64 game, then you're likely making your own game engine from scratch. But how do you go about doing such a thing? I've done this for a number of projects and learned a few valuable things along the way. And I want to share some tips on how to build a game from scratch and some details about the implementation of the game engine for my current game project. The reality is, there are no mature game engines you can use to write N64 games. Unity, Gadot, and Unreal are just way too big to fit on the console. You can make a ROM hack of an existing game like Mario or Zelda, as those games have been decompiled, which would give you a good starting point. Of course, you're going to run into legal issues if you try to sell a game based on Nintendo's work. First of all, you should already know how to write code and have a good foundation in mathematics, particularly vector math and linear algebra. This video sponsor can help out with that. Brilliant. Brilliant is a platform where you learn by doing, which helps you actually retain what you're learning. Brilliant has some excellent courses on programming and all the mathematics you need to start game programming. I love how visual the lessons are. I always rely on being able to visualize problems I am solving, and Brilliant can help you exercise that mental muscle. You can also learn at your own pace, as the lessons are broken up into small pieces that you can do a little at a time each day. If you are just wanting to learn the basics or learn advanced concepts such as machine learning, there will certainly be something for you among their thousands of lessons. To try everything Brilliant has to offer for a full 30 days, visit brilliant.org/JamesLambert or click on the link in the description. You also get 20% off an annual premium subscription. Thank you, Brilliant, for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to it. The two rules I'd like to follow when writing software in general, not just games, are write reusable code, only solve problems you have right now, and keep it simple. I know I said two, but that's because I fell victim to one of the two hard problems in computer science: naming things, caching, and off by one errors. I intentionally put write reusable code as my top rule because I think it's the most important one. Reusable code can solve multiple problems in the same project, can be reused from one project to the next, and if you ever have to make big changes to your code, you can reuse the same implementation from before and after. If you focus on reusable code, the various systems you create for the game can be reused for another, which over time, as you continue working on games, becomes your game engine. Of course, it's easy getting carried away implementing features you don't need, which is why you have rule number 2. By only solving problems you currently have, you don't waste time on features you don't end up using. And possibly more importantly, you don't add unneeded complexity to your code. Only solving problems you currently have relates to a great piece of advice I'm going to repeat here. Write a game, not a game engine. You may be really excited to make a general purpose game engine that has all these fancy features for every possible game that you could possibly think of. But if you do that, you're going to be spending so much time building an engine that you'll never actually make your game. What you should really do is just focus on what your current game project needs right now. This will keep complexity down and the rate of progress up. And the reality is, developing a large piece of software like a game is really about managing complexity. It's really easy to let these systems get really complicated and out of control, which is why rule number 3 is so important. Keep it simple. Simple solutions are almost always better solutions. Simple code is easier to write, easier to understand, and is way less prone to bugs. Whenever I come up with plans for a project or just anything when I'm coding, I like to analyze to see if I can first simplify my solution before I implement it. Now, a detail or two about my current engine. I do like the game object model that Unity uses. If you're not familiar with that, all entities in a scene are just objects you can interact with. This game object represents the thing in the scene, and you can attach various components to it. So a component might do things like add physics, or add graphics, or add custom scripting logic that lets you move it around and interact with the scene. And if you bump into another game object, you can take that game object, you can ask the game object, hey, are you damageable? By just asking, do you have a damageable component? The object has it, you can get it back and apply damage to that game object. Cool system. I really like that pattern. Well, I'm writing my engine in C. C doesn't have classes, which means I really can't follow that same game object pattern. But I think I can get all the same benefits without objects. And object-oriented programming is overrated anyway, but I won't rant about that here. Instead of a game object, I just assign every entity in my scene a unique number that I call the entity ID. Each subsystem then associates that entity ID with some information, like the damageable, or the collider, or the renderable. So, for example, when my physics engine detects a collision, it can take the entity IDs of the two objects that collided and report that back with the collision. So now let's say the thing that collided was an enemy with the player. The enemy can take the entity ID, and then it can ask the damageable system, with the entity ID saying, hey, does a damageable exist with this ID? And if it does, you apply the damage. This accomplishes the same goal as the game object system. You can pass around a generic object from one system to the next, and by passing around just a number instead of a reference to an object, I can avoid stale references. If you're not familiar with a stale reference, that's just when you're trying to read and write data that's already been deleted. Imagine I have a player spell that can follow the nearest enemy. So let's suppose, you cast the spell, and then the spell finds the nearest enemy and then stores a reference to that enemy, and then every frame it updates trying to track it. Well, if I just stored the reference to the enemy, if that enemy died before the projectile reached it and disappeared, well, the object would be deleted, and now the projectile will be following a stale reference. By storing the entity ID instead, each frame I look up the position of the enemy based on that ID. And when the enemy dies, the subsystem responsible for retrieving the position will just not return anything that frame. And so the projectile knows the target disappeared. It's important to fix stale references. At the best, a stale reference would only lead to some glitchy behavior, but at worst, it can lead to memory corruption and crashes. So avoiding stale references altogether by just using entity IDs, I think, is a great win. One concern you might have when using an entity ID is, would it be slow looking up this information constantly each frame? Well, maybe, but I'm not too worried about this. I'm using hash maps to look up this information. Hash map is one of the fastest ways to store and retrieve data. And really, if I do run into performance issues, I'll solve those later. This really relates to rule number 2, don't solve problems you don't have, and that includes performance problems. You don't want to optimize too early because we're really bad at predicting what's going to be fast or slow in a game. You're much better off just making the game work, and then once you're ready to optimize, you find the points that are the slowest. You find the bottlenecks that are keeping the game from running at full speed. And then you optimize those, you get the biggest gains. Whereas if you're so worried about performance from the beginning and you're trying to optimize every little detail, well, you might be optimizing code that only gives you like nanoseconds of improvement. And that's a lot of wasted time that you could have been used working on just about anything else. But if you get the game working first and then optimize later, you'll make much better use of your time and you'll actually be optimizing the parts of the code that need it. And there are a lot of details I could go into about the game engine, and I'll continue to make update videos that include that. But a lot of the physics and rendering systems, I just grabbed code from Portal 64. So a lot of that's going to work the same way. So if you're curious about some of that, you can just watch some of the Portal 64 videos I made on the subjects, and you'll understand kind of how I'm doing it for my current game project. That is all for this video. Thanks again to Brilliant for sponsoring. Be sure to check out the link in the description if you want 30 days for free, plus 20% off an annual premium subscription. And until next time, take care.